Bella Vista Community Television presents Bella Vista and Beyond. Today our host is Kristy Danna, and we have the half-hour happy hour. And now to the studio for our program.
Hey, and welcome back, everybody. Happy July. We've started this month off with a lot of heat. We're roasting in here today, totally. But I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today. Her name is Jeni. She is a novelist, a romance novelist.
Yes.
So welcome, Jeni.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we had a lot of feedback while you were setting up this beautiful display with these hunks back here. So if nothing else, the covers capture people right away, correct?
Yes.
Well, before we start talking about the books, we are going to talk a little bit about you. So I would like you to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself. Where you come from, why you're here, and how in the world did you get into writing romance?
Okay, well, I grew up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and then I lived in Tennessee for a little bit, and then 20 years ago I moved here to Bella Vista, Arkansas.
Oh, so you're a true Bella Vistian now.
Yeah, I guess so.
Fabulous.
Hope so.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I live here with my husband, Heath, and we have 2 kids and 2 dogs. And how I got started on writing was, I don't actually know for sure, but I remember having notebooks and just in my spare time, I would just write these little stories that came into my head. And then in high school, I had a creative writing class, and that was a fun class.
Wasn't it?
And I really liked it, and introduced me to poetry and just other writing that you can do. And the teacher was very encouraging, and so that made me feel good. And that okay, maybe someday I'll be a writer.
Yeah, and look, you are.
Yeah.
3 published books. You've got a 4th that you're working on.
I am working on,
and,
yes.
And you already told me ahead of time you're not going to divulge anything. She's not going to tell me characters. She's not going to tell me anything about what the base of the book's going to be about, but it'll be in a sequence, correct?
Yes, it's a continuation of the 3rd book. So more the characters that are introduced in the 3rd book are going forward.
So how in the world did you decide romance? I mean, is your heart aflutter often, or I mean? Romance.
Romance. Well, romance, that is my genre. Whether I am reading books, watching movies, or just, writing. I love romance. And I've always read the romance novelists when I was younger, like Dorothy Garlock or Janelle Taylor, Nora Roberts.
Right,
and then there was, Nora Roberts, she's got that mystery and adventure in there, and that's important to me
to have that also.
To have that, and because it makes the story interesting.
Right.
So I've also I've read Janet Ivanovich and her Stephanie Plum series, and she showed me or introduced me to you can put humor in your stories as well. So I also have humor in my stories.
Well, that's a big part of life in itself. You know, we all want romance in our life. But if you don't have humor, oh my goodness, it's like all things. No one thing keeps relationships going. So, but to have a touch of romance and flowers and, just beautiful things to look at. And you gave us these beautiful books to look at. So, but back to, so romance was your genre. Romance is where you wanted to go. Tell me what it takes for you to be inspired. What is that little kick that you get that all of a sudden something happens and you go, that's where I'm going?
Writing, I get excited when I'm just kind of moving along on a scene and all of a sudden a character idea pops into my head and I think, oh, wow, that might be good, or that's interesting, and I think I want to move forward and see how I can work it all in. Or I get excited when a scene comes together. I've been working on it for days or sometimes weeks, and I just can't, it just comes together, and it's just so exciting.
Is it? Is it? Do you go back and change a lot also?
Yes.
Now, and do you type, or are you a writer to where everything's longhand? What is your...
Most of the time I'm typing. Sometimes I'll do longhand. Sometimes I will just be at the drinking coffee in the kitchen, and I just sit down with a notebook and I'll just go with the pen and just create everything that's in my head. I just need to get it out.
You empty it. You empty it.
Empty
Then
it
do you
out.
go back and like go, this needs to be over here, this needs to be over there?
Then I'll go into my computer and then type it all out, and then more stuff comes in, and
I'm fascinated because that's something I can't do. I say can't. I don't know how to, number one. You know, I know how to write a nice thank you note, things like that. But to be able to sit down and pour what's in here out on paper, I just can't imagine your talent at all, at all. So I've known you for several years now. You've been at Audrey's Resale Boutique several times as a guest. You're coming back soon.
Yes.
And during this time, I've watched you grow. I've watched you grow from book 1, book 2, book 3, and now, you know, and I've been hounding you for a long time for book 4.
Yes, and
'cause
you're
I've
not the only one.
I know, and because I've read them all. I've read the series, and I look forward to it. So let's start with Kellen's Secret Angel.
Okay. Sweet Angel?
Yeah, Sweet Angel. Or she was a secret, too. Yeah, there you go. And while you're opening, I wanted to ask you, where do you find the names of your books? How do you do that? Does that just all of a sudden just come to your head? And
They take a while.
does it?
Yes. I struggled with this one. I didn't,
Your first one?
first one, and I just went with it.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the first book. Where are you going to take us?
Okay. One of the things is we talked about was the humor, and this one. So Kellen has he lives in this farmhouse, and it's old, and he wants to put it on the historical, the town's historical home tour, and so he needs to hire somebody to help come fix it up because it's in poor shape, and so he has hired an interior designer, and her name is Kylie, and she comes, but she comes from the city and he lives in the country, so there's a few differences between how she's been living in the city and how he's been living in the country, and those differences I put humor into those.
They needed it, didn't
Yeah,
they?
those little things. So
Right.
where I'm coming from on this one is Kellen's coming home from a party, and he finds, well, his door is locked.
See, right there, that is hilarious. He comes home and his door is locked.
Because he's not used to it. Yeah,
That's right. He lives in the country. They don't lock doors, do they?
So I'm just going to read a little bit about him
Sure.
and his thoughts on this.
Okay.
Okay. Kellen noticed the house was dark when he pulled into the driveway. He had mixed feelings about it. He was relieved Kylie hadn't waited up for him. Not that he expected her to, but a part of him wanted to see her before he went to bed. He parked his truck outside in the driveway. One of these days, he would need to program the garage door code into his truck so he could park in the garage. Kellen removed the keys from the ignition, opened his truck door, and patted his dog on the head. "Hey, boy." The dog barked in response, as if to say hi. Kellen walked tiredly to the door, thinking about the events of the day. It had been exciting, and the best part was meeting Kylie. He had gone to a friend's house tonight. The usual gang was there. They sat around drinking beer, played cards, and played pool. He had fun hanging out with his friends, but tonight Kylie roamed through his mind a lot. He was concerned about her being here alone and hoped she was okay. He also hoped she kept her promise and that he wouldn't find her injured. He was a little anxious about this thought and admitted to himself this was why he came home earlier than most nights. One thing that had him smiling through the evening was her comment about cashews having smiles. He'd never look at a cashew the same way again. As Kellen approached the door to the vestibule, he saw the kitchen windows had been closed. It was then he noticed the inner door behind the screen door in the vestibule was closed too. Before he tried the door handle, he already knew the door was going to be locked. Sure enough, the doorknob didn't twist in his hand. Having to tell her not to lock the doors hadn't crossed his mind at all. He was so used to not having to lock a door, that he forgot not all people had the same thought process as he did. Of course, city people lock their doors all the time. In her defense, she probably thought he had a key, but around here, he didn't lock many doors. He walked around to the front door, but knew it was a vain attempt. Yep, it was locked too. Second plan was the windows, but when he walked around the house, all the windows were closed and locked on the inside. Yeah.
Only a city girl would lock all the windows on the inside. That's funny. That's funny.
Tonight would have been a great night to have been able to use the garage. He walked around to the back of the house to see if he could get in through the back deck door, but that was locked too. He looked up at Kylie's room and wondered if he threw rocks at her window if she'd wake up to unlock the door. He found some gravel rocks, not too big, and began throwing them at the window, but there was no answer from her. He wished he had her cell phone number so he could call her. Then he noticed her window was open, which irritated him. She made sure all the windows were closed except hers. He supposed she felt safer since she was on the second floor. Ugh, women.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to cut you off there,
Sure.
girl. But when you were saying that he'd been at a party drinking beer, oh my, that stimulated right here today, right?
Yes.
So here is to Kellen. At this time, we're going to talk about, not the book for a moment, we are going to talk about the fact that just here on July 3rd, we had a July 4th parade here in Bella Vista, and we got some great shots from different folks, and today the director wanted to share that with our people out there. So
Fabulous.
there should be, oh, there they are on the monitor, so you can look at the monitor, but there's some great shots. People turned out. It was wonderful, very heartwarming. We had lots of fun on the float. Didn't get to drink beer. And but it was such a great thing to see people waving the flag, and just good old small town America was there. So we really appreciated that. So thank you so much. We are going to take a break here for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll be back.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
We will be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Here is our host, Kristy, with a half-hour happy hour.
Oh, thanks a bunch. I appreciate that. Yeah, we are back with Jeni, the author of romance novels, and what a great read on that first one. Did you hear that of the can opening over here? You were so good. You just kept reading, and I was like going, okay, pour the beer, and it's a good thing I'm not a bartender. Everyone would have complained about how much foam was on there, but you didn't,
That's right.
and I appreciate that. So now we are going to move into book 2.
All right, Dirk.
So
Characters, when I was writing this, characters just exploded. I mean, they just came out at me everywhere.
that's fantastic, and it was a great read, I might add. So tell us a little bit about the book.
It's a mystery and adventure on the road to romance.
There you go. Dirk's Angel of Destiny.
Yes.
Yows.
Yeah. And it's mystery and adventure, but I also think that there is mystery in the title itself.
There is. There is. Yeah, that of destiny. Yeah, whose destiny? Dirk's destiny or
Sage.
Sage? New character. So tell us a little bit about it.
A little bit about Sage,
Well, just about the book, and I know you're going to do another little short reading, and
Yes.
And you can talk about our props too that we
Okay.
have here. I mean,
Well, I got the tractor for Kellen because he's the farmer.
that's right. Let me back that up. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Dirk, he's a truck driver.
Uh-huh.
And Sage, she is a photographer. And so he's a truck driver passing through.
Uh-huh.
And she's had some rough. She had a rough day, rough 24 hours. She was betrayed by a friend. She was accidentally proposed to, and now evil men are after her.
Ooh.
So.
And of course, I know the part, and,
How it
and I
goes.
don't want to give it away, so I won't talk about it. But it kept my attention through the whole book.
Yes, thank you.
You did. You kept my attention very big. So go ahead and read your little reading here.
Okay.
I will notice then I will share some more
Fudge.
goodies.
Okay. Sage sat on a bench and observed the many couples milling about. They held hands, kissed, smiled, and laughed. The decision to start over here was the right choice. Every day would be a reminder of what she wanted. Deep down, it was love. She, too, wanted loving glances, words, hugs, and heart-fluttering kisses.
Oh.
It had been lonely in a relationship designed for two. Apple Springs was a lover's paradise. Many chose this place for their wedding, a lover's retreat, a girl's day out, or a place to meditate. The Ozark scenery added an extra dose of excitement to everyone's reason for coming. She was no different. Enthusiasm sizzled through her with a strong feeling that her future was here in Apple Springs. Sage stuck the last of the fudge in her mouth and then licked her fingers clean, wiping them on her jeans. Breathing in a deep breath of air, she tilted her head back, enjoying the warm sun, unaware she was being watched.
Gave me goosebumps. And look, we have melting pretend fudge. Now, I say pretend. I truly was looking for fudge yesterday, and there was none to be had, and I had no time to make my own. So this is pretend fudge. This is cheesecake fudge, and feel free to take yourself a little morsel there. It's melting under the light.
Right.
And while you're
It's
having
appropriate.
your little yummy, on our napkins that says let's do a little day drinking. So that's what we do here on the half-hour happy hour, don't you know? But that, I could tell that you had grown as an author, as a writer, just from book one to book two. You know, and like you said, the characters were just exploding in your head. You were excited, couldn't wait to
Yes.
write, and it showed in the book.
Thank you.
There was great mystery in it. There was just couldn't wait to turn the page, which is always a good thing. I would assume for a writer.
Yes,
To be
it was-
able to hold somebody's attention, and for them to can't wait to see.
Yes.
You know, and I remember the only time I have time to read is at night, and so. And I remember going to bed going, oh, I can't wait to go to bed so I can open the book and find out what's happening next. You know what I mean? So, thank you for that,
Well, thank you, and
know?
thank you for saying that.
Right. So before we go into your third book, would you go ahead and share with our
Yes.
viewers how they can get a hold of you, where you're going to be next, what's happening here?
Okay. The best place to get the books is at Audrey's
Yay.
or at Amazon.com.
Okay, very good.
And on Amazon.com, if you type in the Angel series by Jeni, Jeni, it'll pull up all three of them. And you can just click on it and take it to the books and purchase them and read.
purchase them. Yay, yay.
And the next, I'm going to have a book signing August 6th at Audrey's.
Yes.
And any of my books purchased on August 6th at Audrey's or Amazon books brought in for our signature, I will sign and donate 20% of the purchase to Audrey's.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you. You've been a guest many times at Audrey's, and it's just always been fun. And
We have a
I
good
love it
time.
that people come in and truly they're interested in talking to you. People like signed books. They like to talk to the author. So I think that is just so important. So don't forget, August the 6th She'll be there from 10 till we don't know,
Yeah.
probably 5. She has way too much fun, and there's always
I do
happy
stay
hour.
there all
and
day.
there's always a happy hour at 5 o'clock. So don't you know?
Yes.
So that'll be a good time. So okay, so now we're entering into book 3.
Yes.
So you didn't even get to eat your pretend
no.
fudge.
I'll eat
but
it
okay, and
later.
if you want that off your lap so it's not melting on
I'll
you.
put it right here.
So sorry about that.
That's
and
okay.
there. And to the viewers at home, I want you to look at these gorgeous, gorgeous covers of these books. If nothing else, they will entice you. They will entice you.
They'll look good on your coffee table.
Yes, they will. For sure. So tell us about book 3. What's going on in book 3?
Book 3. So I really encourage, it is a series, and I really encourage readers to start with 1 and 2 and 3. And in order to read 3, you really have to read 2 to really know what's going on.
Got it, yeah.
Because as I explained, description is like we are in it. We are in the story, in the mystery, and there are characters that were mentioned in 2 that are in here, and so we want to know what's going on with them.
Right, and characters that were in 1 went to 2. So yeah, this is a continuing storyline.
Yes.
But very different stories
Yes.
as you bring in new characters, correct?
Yes. So the series, the whole series, the Angel series, is a brotherhood of friends and the courageous women they fall in love with as they discover that their sleepy town is home to the FBI's most wanted trafficker.
Ooh.
So
there you go.
it's a sinister storyline for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's a dynamic read for anybody going on vacation, sitting home. Yeah, just
Yeah.
It's an easy read, but yet it's an awe-inspiring. I mean, you really want to get into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reading by the pool, you can do that, and
Absolutely.
Or if you just want to stay inside and stay away from the heat outside.
Right. Drink your
reading.
beers
Yes.
with all the
Happy
guys.
hour.
You know. Yeah, the guys are all dynamic too. You've got powerful, very strong-willed women in every page of this. I like that.
Thank you.
But the men are also, even though they're tough and strong, there is a gentle, kind side to them.
Yes.
And I like that. Very good. Tell us about Evan.
Okay, so Evan, his sunset angel, he seems like he's always just watching her drive away in the sunset.
Oh.
With Callie, she struggles with an accident happens and she's has to stay at home for a while, but she struggles with she's got 2 loves, her career. She's a truck driver.
Here we go. Thus the yellow truck.
Okay, yes, and she drives a yellow truck, and she has named her yellow truck Sunbird. So we hear about Sunbird a lot. Sunbird's almost a character in itself. It's a truck.
You're right.
It's a truck, but kind of a character.
Uh-huh.
But she struggles with wanting to go back to her love of driving truck on the road, and loving her man. So she does. I'm not giving anything away. But
No, you're not. But yeah, and this one is got a lot of drama in it. Lots and lots of drama.
Yes, and even with her and another character that also moves forward. So
Right. So Evan in himself, he was a little bit of a difficult man.
yes.
He was not just he didn't just swoon over her,
Yeah.
you know, and yet he'd been watching her for a long time.
Yeah, he has been her antagonizer. I mean, he liked to tease her, and he would come up behind her and just like scare her. So it was like he was not her brother, but he just acted, he wasn't sure if he really liked her. He knew he liked her, he just couldn't show her that he really liked her.
Because they were almost like family in some ways too.
Yeah.
A family of friends.
Yes.
So that's where it started, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and all 3 guys, they're the family of friends, and Dirk was the one who introduced Callie to, his friends.
The rest of them.
Yes.
Right.
So.
Do you want to do a little short reading there?
Yes.
Set us up for it. What's happening?
It is her Evan and Callie kind of have a little fight, little tiff, but a little bit more than that. It talks a little bit about her turmoil.
Oh, gotcha. And
So-
she does have a lot of turmoil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Evan moseyed his way Evan moseyed his way to the back door and caught a glimpse of her scowl through Sunbird's windshield. He didn't run out to stop her. With a sunken heart, he leaned his shoulder against the doorframe and let her go. Was this her goodbye? Fine if it was. He was furious with her jumping accusations and refusal to hear what he had to say. And what do I have to say, he thought. He stacked the recipes into a neat pile, trying to recall when and why he asked his friend for them. He was fairly sure they had nothing to do with Callie, and yes, he snapped his fingers, remembering. My sister asked for them. But then, Kylie had assumed they were for Callie, and why this assumption bothered Callie so much, he did not know. Groaning, he rolled his eyes. If only Callie had had the courage to talk instead of running away. Which is what she's good at, he muttered in disdain. 2 hours later, she hadn't returned. He had moved past angry into a heavy aggravation about the way she took off. The nagging thought that haunted him all day told him he should have expected this, but he truly intended to capture her apprehension this evening. He was no different than anyone else on earth, always thinking there was more time, another tomorrow. If only she had trusted him. Delay her leaving by a few hours. He was convinced he could have talked her off the fleeing ledge. If he had driven her to the nail salon, it might have saved both of them a lot of heartache. Yet, would he just have been prolonging the inevitable? How many conversations would they need to have before his comfort level was stable with her not leaving? Is this what their relationship would be like? Him trying to convince Callie that their love was worth it? He never wanted it to be his love keeping her here, because eventually it would be enough for her to stay. Wouldn't be enough for her to stay. Had they reached this point, he wanted her to stay not just for him or for her, but for them and their love. The ultimatum he had heard earlier of her saying she was leaving, and he would just have to understand, isn't what he wanted to live with. If he hadn't arrived when he did, she would have done exactly what she promised not to do, leave without saying goodbye. And he wasn't sure if she would have even left him a note.
Yep. I remember you reading that. It all comes back. So I want to thank you for coming and being my guest today.
Thank you again
thank
for
you
having
for
me.
always, helping to support Audrey's, and you support us, we support you. Coming up on August the 6th, we will have a book signing there. You can come meet the author. She will sign your books.
Yes.
If you buy them on Amazon, you bring those in. And she is going to be very generous to Audrey's and give us 20%. Thank you so
Yes.
much for that. But before we go, I also want to say to you, the viewer, that Bella Vista Community Television, we are a nonprofit. And the only way that we can stay here within our community is from your donations, your gifts to us. So, reach in those pockets a little bit, give to Bella Vista Community Television. It's a wonderful thing that we're doing for the community. We've made a lot of changes, we're growing, and just thank you. Thank you all. Great Bella Vista. So thanks again, Jeni.
Thank you again for having me.
You betcha. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Remember, you can see this program on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at various times. You may find us on YouTube at Bella Vista Television www.bellevista.com. This has been a presentation of Bella Vista Community Television. Thank you for joining us.